Okay, guys, so it's time for a little bit of an explanation of what repetition means. Now, on the last slide, we saw that repetition is the repeated use of a word or a phrase in order to add emphasis to something in a poem. It's a tool that the author can use to really bring home and focus your attention on one specific part of what they're talking about. So, what we're looking at now are a couple of examples of repetition that should look kind of familiar to you. The first one is The Negro Speaks of Rivers. This is a poem by Langston Hughes that I hope you've seen in your composition class. And it says, I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood and human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. Here we see the repetition of the word rivers. Okay? It, this type of repetition is to make it sound like it's coming from a storyteller, someone who's reading the story out loud and bring it into your brain. Next, we see "Do not go gentle into that good night," which hopefully you guys all remember from earlier this week. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their end know dark is right because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go in gentle into that good night. So we see, if we look at the last two lines of the last lines of each of the first two stanzas, we see rage, rage against the dying of the light, and do not go gentle into that good night. Now, if we briefly look at the next few stanzas, you will see that those ending lines, rage, rage against the dying of the light, do not go gentle into that good night. So the ending lines of the stanzas are repeated to sort of tie all of these different images together. This is one example of repetition of a phrase. So before we saw in The Negro Speaks of Rivers, we saw the repetition of the word rivers. Here, we see the repetition of phrases. Not necessarily the same phrase, but repetition of phrases nonetheless. So I want you guys to go back into your poem, Raised by Women, and see what phrase or words you see repeated there. Have fun.